Yo, these are the last episodes, man. Come on now. Nothing else happened. Y'all might as well chronicle my package.
Got you.
So sweets.
Welcome to this latest edition of the Real Deal podcast. As you can see, I am not alone. Got plenty of company with, I'm joined by Robert Sapp.
You.
Chad Cuddy Quinn.
Yep.
As we look back at the Jordan documentary, The Last Dance, episodes 9 and 10, and to a lesser extent, the entire series as a whole. Want to begin though on a down note. So the NBA lost a legend today. Jerry Sloan. Jerry Sloan, the longtime Utah legendary coach, passed away at the age of 72. Sloan, of course, was a player in the league as well, 2-time All-Star, 4 times All-Defensive Player. And of course, he made his fame as the Utah coach for 21 years, 2 finals appearances, retired as the 4th all-time leading winningest coach in terms of regular season wins. He was 6th all-time in terms of playoff wins, got to the finals twice by, of course, losing to the Chicago Bulls in 97 and 98. So rest in peace to Mr. Sloan. He was, a stalwart in the NBA community as far as the coaching ranks.
Yeah, I get it. Go ahead, Sam.
No, I just said RIP.
Yeah.
Never won. I didn't know that. Never won Coach of the Year. Never won Coach of the Year in 21 years. So
that is very surprising. I think, like you said, rest in peace, Jerry Sloan. He was like one of the last of the OGs. I hated how it ended with D. Wood and, Carlos Boozer and all them suckers. But he was a real coach, man. It seemed like he just genuinely was like a, hard-nosed, but he cared about the players. I don't know him, but God bless the family, man.
Yeah, all the players rev about him as far as, like all the players say great things about him, ex-players. I haven't heard comments from Karl Malone and Stockton today, but I'm sure they hold him on to a high regard. So this episode began with the chronicle of that Pacers series in '98 with the Pacers, Bulls. Of course, the series that went to 7 games. It was on the only series that the Bulls went to 7 games in the conference finals and NBA finals. All the NBA finals were in 6 games or less, and that was the only conference finals that went to 7 games. You see, they tried to show you the genesis of the Reggie Miller, Michael Jordan relationship with this, fake fight in '93. Where, by the way, I'm gonna give you some context to that. Jordan punches Reggie Miller, but Reggie Miller got thrown out of that game. So just to let you know the power of Michael Jordan. You get punched and you get thrown out. So, of course, typical what's been a constant narrative in this whole series. Let's make Jordan out to be, basically walk on water. Reggie Miller calls him Black Jesus after some trash talking going wrong in a preseason game, and they ran with that. Your thoughts on how they opened the episode in terms of that that part of storytelling?
Yeah, I'll be brief. The way they open and end shows is butt cheeks. It's butt cheeks. It's low energy. Beginning, low energy. I don't want to hear about Jordan and Reggie Miller. I will say this. This speaks to Jordan's production team and how all this shit works, right? I'm not going to be crazy. But Jordan and Reggie Miller, if I don't know them, I actually think they might like each other. They don't like each other at all.
No.
Okay, let's be very clear. Jordan's been on record and been quoted as like playing Reggie Miller is like playing a female. This is what he said, guarding him. Now, he didn't put that in the documentary because there's an understanding in the documentary. Reggie, you make me look good, I'll make you look good. I won't show me punching you in your face and saying you're a woman if you agree that I'm Black Jesus. So I'm like, once again, this is at this
Well,
point.
they showed, not to cut you off, they showed the punch. They showed him getting punched in the face.
Yeah. They
showed
showed,
that.
but they didn't talk about who got kicked out and all of that other type of stuff.
Right.
I'm saying more so that this is just in line with the narrative of everybody's a pawn. The only thing I really, as if I'm Jordan, the only thing that we're really taking away from Reggie Miller is I never called him Michael Jordan again. I called him Mike, or I called him Black Jesus. That's all he wanted, and he got it. And for them to say that the Indiana Pacers were their hardest test in the East Coast, even if that's true.
He did say besides the Pistons. Like,
Yeah, he did say that. He did.
But he went besides the Pistons.
I'm glad you brought that up.
He did all the stuff about Indiana. So, yeah, besides the Pistons.
Besides the Pistons. He did bring that up.
Constantly whooping y'all ass. Constantly. But okay.
So, it reminds me, this is like, for me, this episode was a couple of steps up from BJ Armstrong stuff. Like, I have not seen Jordan attack any mountain in this documentary outside of the Pistons who beat his ass for a couple of years. Then they got old. Then he beat them. So the Reggie Miller thing, it was cool because I did like, I will say this. Reggie looked good in this documentary. You know what I'm saying? It was favorable for him as this dude who like, I didn't fear Jordan. So Reggie looked good in the documentary, but it was just like, okay, this is episode 9 and 10. This is what we doing. That's all.
Yeah, I don't really have a lot to add. I really don't. I mean, I barely remember this segment at all. Like, barely. Yeah, the takeaway was that Reggie calls him Black Jesus all the time. I can't give this any more air than it's worth.
So they of course they beat Indiana in that game 7, and in that game 7, by the way, Jordan was 9 for 25 from the field, 28 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists. Tony Kukoc was the MVP of that game. I went back and did, a rebroadcast, a repodcast of that game. Excellent game, hard fought. Indiana had its chances. A little bit overrated in terms of this jump ball decided the game, which
6 minutes.
6 minutes, like really 6 minutes. I mean, I know points. I know points were at a premium, but like, come on.
Yeah.
It's
a jump ball at 6 minutes.
It's a jump ball at 6 minutes. Even if you go down 6 points, even if y'all go down 6 points.
The only person who cares and believes that narrative is Jay Williams. That's the only person.
Only person.
Yeah, but
6 minutes. Come on, we've all been watching basketball. Stop with this.
But
jump ball.
But Tony Kukoc was the MVP of that game. Kukoc.
We didn't know how to play after a jump ball. Everybody forgot how to play after a jump ball. We just gonna go up by 5, 6 minutes left. This is basketball. What are we talking about here? What are we doing? See, I had forgotten about that. You brought it up. Now you reigniting me.
No, I'm good.
What are y'all talking about? Like, come on now. What is this?
You talking to Hoodie Mello tonight? You better chill out.
See,
you know what? Let's move on.
Let me finish with Kukoc.
I can't even. I can't.
Let me finish the Kukoc. So Kukoc.
Yep.
Kukoc.
Your guy.
That's my boy. Yeah, give him some shine.
Yeah, 21 points in the game.
Okay, Kukoc.
14 points in the third quarter. So he was the MVP of that game.
Unsung hero.
He saved them. But of course, no mention at all of Kukoc's performance in that game. None whatsoever.
Did Kukoc play for the Bulls?
Yeah.
I barely saw him.
I think him and Scottie Pippen played one season together.
They played one season together. Was that the one where Scottie refused to go in?
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay,
that's
all right.
One.
All right. We went over that multiple times.
They played the one season that Jordan didn't win was when the Bulls played.
Got it.
That's it.
Got it. Okay.
So to Mr. Sapp's point about that jump ball, Pacers are up by 3. The Bulls get the jump ball, then Steve Kerr hits the 3 to tie the game. There's 6 minutes left in the game. 6. That's a half a quarter. All right, and I understand scoring was at a premium.
No, don't say that.
But don't
say that. Don't say that. It's basketball. Don't say that.
So,
we're not doing this.
And that's been kind of overplayed by multiple media people and people who were covering the Bulls or covering, Jalen Rose brought it up. The Pacers try to say something happened. They said? The crowd, something happened. There was a shift, and it's like I said, we watched enough basketball to know a lot of things can happen in 6 minutes. So
it was a jump ball.
It was a jump
ball.
Yeah, it was a jump ball.
About a jump ball.
Yeah, a jump
Think
ball.
about that. Think about that for a second. Just think about that. That was in the documentary. At number 8 and 9, the finale, the series finale. We talk about jump balls now.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Chad. You have something to say.
Yeah.
Nah, no comment, man. I'm here, man. We're here. We episode 9 and 10.
You're right.
Shout out, as Charles Barkley said, shout out to Kukoc. Kukoc and Horace Grant need to contact TV One for an unsung episode. All the niggas that actually helped the Bulls win need to find a way to get a deal for a documentary.
We'll get to the Horace Grant part. Plain to say with that. So we're done with that part. They're done with the Indiana series. Of course, they won. Great, but it was not a classic series. It went 7 games, but it really wasn't. You had, Reggie hit a game-winning shot, one game. Game 7 was ugly and I rewatched it. It was not like this was not, this was not a classic series and like that. It was, good series. It was the last, series of the Bulls for the Eastern Conference, for Jordan for the Eastern Conference. So they move on to the Utah 97 and the Game 5 food poisoning game. For years, this had been known as the flu game. Within the last couple of years, we find out, last 4 or 5 years, Tim Grover comes out and says it was actually food poisoning. Jordan orders a pizza because apparently the Marriott, which I'm sure is a luxurious hotel. Been to many Marriotts in my lifetime, and nice hotel, nice digs for a hotel, nice place to stay. They had no food service, not room service at that particular Marriott in Utah. Jordan's hungry, orders a pizza from this local place, wherever, in Utah, and they get the direct address. This is Michael Jordan now, the most famous, not only athlete, but maybe one of the most famous people in the world in 1997, right? So they get the direct address to Jordan's room. Apparently 5 pizza delivery guys go up to that room. No security, no dropping the pizza off at the front desk and having one of Jordan's cronies come down and get the pizza. No. We're gonna go straight to the room and drop off the pizza. And what you saw in the documentary, it said that Tim Grover's like, I have a bad feeling, Michael. I don't know if you should eat this. And Jordan says, I'm good. Eats the entire pizza by himself and proceeds to get sick. What they didn't tell you in the documentary that we've come to find out over the course of the week is that Michael Jordan actually spit on the entire pizza before he ate it. So no one else could eat it, which I just get it. I get it, but I don't get it. A lot of things to take away from this in terms of how this story has aged. Just go ahead, because I know you're
okay. So I'm just going to start off right here. I just want to point out to you, Cyril, you just spent 5 minutes talking about a pizza being delivered. I want you to think about that, what you just did. Just think about that for a second. That's what you talked about for 5 minutes. So that's one thing. And then the second thing is this, I cannot tell you how much I don't care about this. Like at all. 0. I'm done. For real. Done.
Yeah, I only care because I don't care. I remember vividly being a teenager watching the game, and I'm like, he's not that sick. He's okay. And then there was an article that came out last week how Scottie Pippen and the other players used to, rib Jordan because he was very dramatic. he's the type of personality. If he's sick, you're going to know he's sick. He's going to be coughing in the house and let you know. But this story, it felt like the flu wasn't big enough. So what can we do to make it bigger? So
it's bigger than the flu.
Well, no, it's a different angle. It's a different twist, right? Because a lot of
Should
people
have been somebody poisoned me. That's what
Someone,
one of the 5 pizza guys
the
poisoned.
story. Okay, so right,
Yeah.
Rob. Okay, right.
Like,
Okay.
if we don't go there, let's blow it all the way up.
Since you went there, let's go there.
I don't care about
this is my take, Cyril. Here's a hot take for you. It's a lie. But to Rob's point, if we're going to lie, let's really lie.
It was such
I want to see Jordan's ex-wife, or are they married at this point? I don't know from the documentary. He seemed like he just adopted these grown kids out of nowhere, but that's a whole nother story.
3 out of the 5.
Right? So let's say there was a hit put out on Jordan because of gambling, and they tried to kill him. They shot him in his back, but he still made it to the game to play because
you should have done this documentary. See, this would have been so much more interesting. I would have enjoyed the story.
And just and I know you're going to go to next, Cyril, but this is storytelling 101. Like, okay, if I'm doing that to propel it, I wouldn't show Scottie Pippen with a real back injury and still playing through it. It just doesn't work for me. Like this food poisoning, and if I said, okay, let's go there, I'll play around with it for a second. These dudes, these 5 guys found Jordan and said, hey, here's your pizza guy. Jordan spits on the pizza. So I'm like, okay, if there was a pizza there that they knew how to poison him somehow, then he spit on it. I'm like, well, maybe God intervened and said, you know what, guys? Nah, I got this one. We'll call this one karma. You spit on your pizza, sir. Maybe you made yourself sick. And I'll leave it at that. I mean,
wait, hold on, time. Really quickly. Of course, I didn't, I don't listen to anything. So I didn't hear about none of the spitting part. This sounds ridiculous. This literally sounds like out of craziness. Is this the rationale that they gave why nobody else ate the pizza?
Yeah, Jordan was hungry. He didn't want anybody else to eat it.
I heard on the thing, he was hungry. He ate the whole slice. Then later in the week, they had to clarify that he spit on the pizza. That's why nobody else ate it.
Yes.
So,
and
pause really quick. Come on now. Come on. Chad, you're a writer. Like for real. He had a team of people in that room with him as he was coming up with this story. If Jordan said, if this is rejection, how does this get on air?
This is how it gets on air because I'm Black Jesus. So we're in the writer's room. Like, yo, what y'all want to tell them? Yo, say they food poison. Okay, bet. Hey, Jordan, MJ, you know they're going to ask how no one else got sick. You're right. I spit on the pizza. No one eats. That's brilliant, MJ. And we take it and run.
Best thing we've ever heard. Damn. Come on, man. This is a kindergartner telling this story.
Because the problem with this, Rob, is if it is in fact true.
You're a billionaire. Can't you just hire? Just hire. Yo, tell my life story.
This is the last thing I'm going to say about this, Cyril. This is the last thing I'm going to say. If this story is true, it actually is more. No, hold on, Rob. It actually is more problematic for me then. As a grown-ass man, if I'm sitting somewhere and a dude spits on food so I can't eat it, you have the psyche of a 5-year-old. I'm really concerned about you.
That's insane.
That's like a lot. That's like, dude, we're grown-ups.
So just we took this mythical flu story that has been, and then we brought it down to food poisoning and I spit on the pizza. This is your better storytelling? This is why Jordan should just stop.
But you know what, Rob?
Just stop. This is not good. It's not good storytelling.
Food poisoning and a little bit of the flu, and we still won the game.
Okay.
That's what people want to see. They were like, yo, who did you beat in your life? Yo, I beat the Pacers, this dude named Bradford Smith, BJ Armstrong.
They were like, yo, giving him AIDS, he could have beat Magic.
They said, we have to beef up these stories. This is not enough. What else happened in this series? Well, I did order pizza one night. Okay, let's go. What happened with the pizza? What happened with the pizza? Well, it came late. It was kind of cold. Okay, it was cold. Did it make you? Were you like, oh, was it nasty? Yeah, it wasn't the best type of pizza. Okay, did you like feel queasy a little bit? I mean, kinda. So I was like a little tired in the morning. Okay, we're gonna go with that. And this is how the story happened. This is how it happens, Rob.
This
This is
is
how
yep.
we
No,
come up
that's
with the
how it
story.
happened. That's how it happened.
This is
This
exactly
is
how it
why.
happened.
This is why you don't let people write their own material. This is why you hire writers. This is exactly why you are not allowed to tell your own stories at all, ever.
Never.
We inherently are not interesting enough to say things. That's why we need professionals.
So, real, I know we're done, but I promise you, to any listeners out there, and to you and Rob as well, go back and watch the Bobby Brown story. I said this the other week; it didn't land the way it needed to. The New Edition story was amazing. They did on BET.
Yeah.
And in the New Edition story, we saw a lot of Bobby Brown. We saw enough of Bobby Brown. But Bobby Brown didn't see enough of himself. So he went and said, no, let's do the Bobby Brown story. And in the Bobby Brown story, we saw how in love Janet Jackson was with him, how much everyone knew he was better than Ralph Tresvant. This is the Bobby Brown story. So after you finish this documentary, go watch Bobby Brown. Like, if you really want to see narcissism at its finest, at least that was done at a higher production level than this. But
that will forever be my main complaint with this thing. It's just how poorly executed it was. That's where, like, whatever. I mean, ego, blah blah blah. We've seen it a billion different times before. That's fine. But you got all the money, all the meat. You can't tell a better story than this. That's the part to me that's pathetic about this. That's where I'll land on with it. Just bad storytelling. Just horrible. Spit on pizza.
That's it.
Spit on the pizza.
Go ahead.
That's hilarious. Sorry. That's hilarious.
So they win. Of course, they win the championship in '97. We go to '98, where and I'll just immediately go to Game 6 of '98, because apparently no one else was on the court outside of Michael Jordan. Like, he was, he carried the Gatorade, he was officiating, he was coaching. Like, nobody else took the court. So that game, he goes 15 for 35, has a sequence at the end, gets a steal, hits the game-winning shot, pushed off Byron Russell, denies it, but we saw your hand touch his hip and he go in a different direction. So they're telling that story. He goes, and let me get the quote up here on Scottie Pippen. Pippen in that game had an actual injury. His back was out, was completely shot. He was at that point a decoy in the game, but enough of a decoy to take pressure off Jordan in terms of bringing up the ball. And Pippen made a couple of defensive plays in that fourth quarter that were key to the Bulls winning. And again, another great Kukoc performance in Game 7. Kukoc has 15 points in Game 7 in a game that was low scoring, was 87-86. So those 15 points were big points in that particular game. He says about Pippen. He says, Pippen was barely getting up the floor. I was taking all the shots, bringing all the energy. That was his quote on Scottie Pippen in Game 6 of that game. I did a podcast on this game, and for all the shit that Pippen took with the migraine game, this game completely should have just absolutely eviscerated that game in 1990. Pippen he played 25 minutes, but they were a big 25 minutes. He, yes, was a decoy. He couldn't move, but he was able to take enough pressure off Jordan to where, again, Jordan didn't have to bring up the ball. And Pippen was enough of a decoy to be to where his presence mattered on the floor. So all the shit that people want to give him for Detroit 1990, that was destroyed in 98 because he was on the court with a back injury. And anybody's had a bad back, and I've had a bad back in the last few years on recovering, ongoing from time to time. You you can't move. You can't do anything with a bad back. Is put Larry Bird out, retired Larry Bird, and many NBA players and athletes. So, again, no credit for Pippen, no credit for Tony Kukoc, and even Dennis Rodman. I look at that game. Yeah, Dennis Rodman had a big jumper that he made, had two big offensive rebound tips that were major in that game. I mean, big, like that game, could have got away from Chicago a couple times, and Dennis Rodman had some offensive rebounding tips that were big plays in that game. So the thing that jumped off to me was just a lack of acknowledgement about his teammates and their performances in that game 6. Everybody just zeroes in on, of course, the shot and the steal on Karl Malone and the shot at the end of the game.
I'm gonna go I'll be quick, but once again, this is where it gets a little more serious for me because it's dangerous and it's reckless. Journalism, if that's what you want to call it, because it's like, number one, we don't see Jordan fail at all in 10 episodes. The only time we see him fail is because people were being mean to him. So when he failed against the Pistons, they were beating him up and bullying him, and they made this whole Jordan rules situation. You know what I mean? And we don't highlight enough what it means to be a team player and collaboration and how nobody wins alone. I want to focus on Pippen. As you see my shirt, okay? Oh, man, and I'm a Knicks fan.
Yeah.
This is Pippen dunking on Ewing, but I had to do this for Pip tonight. And real quick about Dennis Rodman, sidebar, but it should have been a cliff note. I'll name 3 people that the Bulls would never have beat without Dennis Rodman. Sean Kemp, Shaquille O'Neal, and Karl Malone. That simple, right? So Karl Malone would average 40 against the Bulls without Dennis Rodman. Karl Malone was a beast, and we kind of like downplayed how much of a beast he was. Like, okay, he's decent. He got the MVP. No, he was a bad man. So although he still averaged like 25 or 26 against Dennis Rodman, those numbers were still lower than they would have been against anybody else. So that's first and foremost. Secondly, going back to Scottie Pippen, and I had the back injury as well, but I'm not an athlete, professional, all that. Scottie Pippen could not. They forced him to go back in the game. We need you to be a decoy. That's how important Pippen's role was. But this is not a surprise in episode 9 and 10, because in episode 7 and 8, we focus on Jordan and the baseball player. We don't focus on the Bulls were a shot away from going to the finals again, and Scottie Pippen's an all-star, and Scottie Pippen's number 3 in the MVP votings. So we already have downplayed what Scottie Pippen means to the team. So that's why it's really hard to watch this and be like, yo, if I don't know anything and I'm not like researching, I'm looking at like, yo, Jordan just beat everybody. He had a bunch of cronies, like a bunch of what are the Jackson? Not Tito. What's lower than Tito?
Randy,
Randy, not Jermaine. Randy's perfect.
Randy.
Jordan and a bunch of Randy Jacksons won 6 champions. That's my takeaway. If I'm a kid and I don't know, I didn't live during that era, I didn't research, Jordan won with a bunch of Randy Jacksons. Like, it's like, yo, dude, why talk about Scottie Pippen? The only time that we're highlighting Scottie Pippen is to bring him down. In 10 episodes, the biggest segments about Scottie Pippen were the contract and when he wouldn't go back in the game.
Ooh, 2 seconds.
Those are the biggest moments.
Him not going back in the game might have been the most research thought about thing.
Yes, it was done with so much fidelity. It was so much, to your point, Rob. It was done with so much fidelity and time and research. Oh my goodness, what else happened, Phil? What was your perspective? How did the rest of the players feel? Can we talk to Cartwright? What did Cartwright say after the game? Did he talk to Pippen about this? He put so much energy into Pippen's failures.
Yep.
And this is the only time we're talking about, oh, no, this is not the Jordan documentary. This is about the Bulls. This is about everything. So, like, to downplay what Pippen meant in that series was just really troublesome for me. But that's it.
And you left out they showed Pippen missing 2 free throws in Game 7 against Indiana.
Oh, there you go.
Can't forget that.
Thank you.
You can't forget that. No.
He did miss
My
those.
goodness, not forgetting
Also,
that.
real quick, last thing I say, real quick. I'm sorry, Rob. Then you go in.
Yeah.
Going back to storytelling. This is what I'm saying. There was a way to feed Jordan's narcissism and still do good storytelling.
Yes.
So the main person that we quote about this Byron Russell push is Bob Costas.
Yeah.
Bob Costas is the end all be all to say, come on, man. He was already nigga, did you ever play anything in life? Bob Costas is the one that's going to tell us if this is a foul or not. And the reason I brought that up is to say great storytelling is Jordan being honest. Yeah, I pushed him. Let's go back to how Reggie Miller pushed me. Show the edit. Reggie shoved the mess out of Jordan.
Yes, that was a
shove. Jordan was a push. But
Yes.
what I'm saying is you can feed my narcissism by saying, yeah, I pushed him, but Reggie shoved me. It's a difference. So for Bob Costas to say he was already moving that way, he was out of control. Jordan tapped him. It was like a love tap. Come on, man.
Or just don't bring it up because
No, or just no. But we talked about this last week, Rob. We said Jordan
so alter
is
reality.
going to
like, nah,
touch everything.
Yeah, I know.
Says.
I know. It was hilarious because I'm like, no, I'm looking at it. I see your hand and I see you do this. So
move his whole momentum.
Physics don't apply anymore. Anyway, I couldn't figure out what the counter was going to be to that. And it was Bob Costas because then Bob Costas, once he says something, it's a wrap. Yeah. It can't be. No. I mean, like you said, both of you guys have said everything that needs to be said about like all of the parts around the game and inside of the game. I was just going to move on from this segment. A lot of these, I was just going to move on until y'all start talking. You spark my thought process. And so, like, to me, like, I agree with you, Chad. This is the danger. But I would go even one step before that. It's kind of like, you know how I started the day off with an anti-racism workshop. So that's just in my head with all that crap. But anyways, so you know, like when you get into that dialogue about the N-word or how we're using words for it, but it's like who created the words and who created the dynamics of the word, right? The dangers in this whole entire enterprise, right? Because this was never about establishing anybody else except reestablishing Jordan's legacy. That's what this whole thing was about. So that's why I say calling a documentary bad. Calling it anything other than just a live autobiography, a television show, anything. This has nothing to do with reality. And the more we start picking apart and all these shows, everything like that, the more irritated I get because this isn't about that. This isn't about that. There was a very simple way to go about this that would completely feed his narcissism because all you have to do is just replay them winning, show all his last game winning shots, put some nice music to it, have everybody saying glowing stuff about Jordan. Done. The thing that makes this so malicious is that he has to tear everybody down along the way. We could have easily fed into Jordan's ego. It probably been 5 episodes, not 10. 5. We could have got 5. So I get it. We would have been able to stretch out without 10. But the thing that the dangerous part was this whole thing is honestly created just to tear certain people down. So Jordan can have the final word about it. And that's what's dangerous about this. And that's what's dangerous about using words like documentary around this thing. This Jordan self-produced television show.
Yeah, I mean,
we don't have to talk about what happened in '98. We've talked about that for 30 years. We've talked about all these bits and pieces. I was there afterwards. I was there 2 years after. We've had all these conversations ad nauseum. The only reason to bring these things back up is, again, to get Reggie to say Black Jesus, to get Costas to say nobody pushed off on, right? To laugh at Gary Payton, just all these different things. That's the only reason to do this, and to make a bunch of money for ESPN, for Disney, and Netflix. Sorry.
No,
next.
Right. You're right.
Yeah, that's the thing that just keeps irritating me. I'm like, this is bullshit.
So Horace Grant comes out this week on a radio interview, basically, I mean, calling Jordan flat out a liar, saying that he didn't snitch to Sam Smith. It was clear that Horace Grant had a relationship with Sam Smith, but so did Michael Jordan, by the way. That's nobody's mentioned that. Michael Jordan and Sam Smith actually played golf together at times during that period. So calls Jordan a liar, says that he never backed down from Jordan in practices. Basically said that Jordan basically says a lot of things that we've been saying over the last couple of episodes of this podcast. Like, Jordan is going to hold grudges against anybody who challenges him or who says anything bad about him. So that was a big, major story over the course of the week. And somewhat Horace Grant says what he says, and he's painted as being, disgruntled or, well, that's not true and things of that nature. And I've heard Horace Grant say glowing things about Michael Jordan as well in various podcasts and radio interviews. But he just said, hey, it was clear that they didn't get along. Cool, that happens with teammates at times. Kobe, Shaq. They won 3 championships with Horace Grant. Those teams were the best teams when I compared the first 3 Bulls teams were superior to the last 3 Bulls teams, in my opinion. Like, those last 2 Bulls teams were beatable. The first 91 through 93 were virtually unbeatable. And Horace Grant was a part of that, a major part of that, for what he did for that team. So, call Jordan out for, again, basically call Jordan out basically being a liar. And Jordan, you look at how many lies were told through the course of this documentary. Hard to argue with Horace. Thoughts on Horace Grant's take?
Here, whatever. I'm going to read. So when I say narcissistic, so narcissistic personality disorder. Like, I don't think people are hearing me when I say things like that. Like, so, but requires a medical diagnosis. So that's the thing. He hasn't, like, there's no way he's going in. But let me just read you the definition of it. And I'm intimately knowledgeable of a person with this disorder. Symptoms include an excessive need for admiration, disregard for others' feelings, and an inability to handle any criticism, and a sense of entitlement. So when you bring up Shaq and Kobe, that's we can't put this under normal circumstances. See, we can't just keep letting Jordan skate. So fuck all this other, whatever. Like, Horace Grant is just saying what Horace Grant needs to say. Like, Jordan's a liar. We know he's a fucking liar. And it's not that he's not saying things that are factually accurate. It's that the way in which he retells everything is meant to build himself up. Now, I do believe in Horace Grant's situation when Michael Jordan built this whole thing to go, Horace Grant was the snitch. Like, Horace Grant is feeling some type of way because he's like, I'm not the only one that talked about it. But the bigger thing here is that what Horace is acknowledging is that is that Jordan only has his self-interest involved in all of this. And all he hears, because that's the other part of it, that's the other huge danger, is that we have these huge media conglomerates that are just going to echo what Jordan says. So that's all you hear. You hear Jordan say something, and then you hear everybody else repeat it over and over again ad nauseum. So it becomes like truth. And that has to be frustrating for somebody who, it's frustrating for me, and I'm not involved in any of this. So for somebody who's intimately involved in it, it has to be a frustrating thing to do that. But Jordan is a narcissistic personality. All of his words are designed to make himself look good and to not give a shit about anybody else. There's no, take all of this now. There's no Kobe Shaq comparison. That's normal teammate shit. Jordan's fucked up. Period. End of sentence. Go ahead, Chad.
With all that said, no, because Sap is completely right. The way you laid it out was perfect, right? This is very frustrating. Because when you talk about a narcissist and you give us a classic definition, and Jordan hits the checklist on everything. And Cyril, we talked about this briefly, man. Like, this is the danger of media. This is the real danger of media. This is the danger of storytelling. Because it's like, who's telling the stories? You know what I mean? Shout out to Nas. We reading the history books, but who are the authors? You know what I mean? So it's like, and I'm not, fuck it, we're gonna go deep. We'll go a little deep. But every time another black man dies, it's character assassination. So we research all his history and what's going on. I talked to you about this the other day. Like, there's a lot of personalities that tell the truth, but what we find out is other dirt of them doing other shit, and it dismisses their truth. Jordan and his cronies have a story. So because Jordan is a narcissist is going to work with other people that feed into his narcissism. So as long as everybody's on board with that, you can speak about me. So Horace Grant comes off, it's such a no-win situation, because as a man, it's like, yo, I ain't gonna let him say whatever. I got to get on the horn and da-da-da-da-da. Cool. But just to let you know, the people you're talking to, they're Jordan's people.
Mm-hmm.
So after you finish giving a soundbite,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to take that soundbite and say, you know, Horace Grant is probably bitter. This is what he was feeling, and this is how he got attacked, right? When you think about people's inner circles, no one even questioned how this young white director even had a relationship with Jordan. No one's even brought that up. How did you get this situation? How did you inherit the story that no one can get? You nobody at it in nowhere. You weren't even around in that era. This unexpected white man, because Jordan doesn't surround himself with people that really know him unless they're going to tell what he wants to be told. It's the same reason, like you said, it's surreal. We don't talk to Craig Hodges. It's the same reason Cartwright doesn't talk about this whole bully thing, because that shit didn't happen to him. There's a certain reason that we only interview certain people. So I really feel in my heart of hearts for Horace Grant, because he did what he needed to do, but it's still on deaf ears. Because no one cares about the lie. When it comes to storytelling, whoever tells the biggest story, that's the truth. So we sit here and there's 10 of us out there, and 8 of us say this one thing and 2 people say the other, the 8 voices are louder. So all we hearing is Jordan and his crony saying, this is what it is, Horace is a snitch, da-da-da-da-da, and that's a story that's going to continue to perpetuate. I talked to you about this 2 weeks ago. I said, yo, we never even talked about Phil Jackson and how he's already shown on the record that he does this type of shit. He'll play his players out after the fact. Some of the shit that was said, and Phil Jackson had a relationship with Sam too. Everybody had a relationship with Sam. So why single out?
Because Jordan.
Horace?
Jordan.
Everybody
Horace did it. Jordan said Horace did it.
Yeah, Horace is the one.
Jordan's the only one.
But the thing is, though, but this is how Horace became the one, because Horace, you don't follow in line.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So production beat, yo, Scott Burrell, you know what you're going to say, right? Of course, you needed to do what you needed to do, MJ. Hey, Steve Kerr, come on, man. You punched in my face, but it made us closer. BJ, yo, you're the greatest. I should have barked at you. Everybody has a line. When it came to Horace, it's like, yo, man, you tried to tell me I couldn't eat after a bad game, but I ate. Oh, hold up. What you say, nigga? You ate. Oh, you want to do your own thing. So as soon as you don't follow in line with what Jordan wants, Jordan gonna find a way to get back at you because he's petty. So, I mean, like I said, it was a very disturbing. I'm glad that Horace said whatever, but that was a blip. I watched a lot of, I don't even watch First Take and all that, but I had to watch it this week. I'm just curious. I want to see how they tackle, because these are all insiders, right? No one else is in the locker room. Any other time they say, you know what? I can't speak on this. Somebody's in the locker room. But as soon as Horace said whatever he said, they were like, well, you know, Horace is a little mad. He's a little angry. Same thing with Isaiah. When the people that were in that era, same thing with Karl Malone, when the people that were in that era speak about it, we kind of mute them. So that's interesting. So
I did see a commercial. Stephen A. had a special right after the something. After the
dance shit, I didn't watch it.
There you go. Something after the thing. So that just lets you know. That lets you know who's what are the gets out of towing the line, right? There's certain rewards for staying on message. Yep.
So they get to the point where they're telling the story about how.
We're still at episode 9. Have we moved into 10
Yeah,
yet?
we're on 10. Yeah.
We're 10. Okay.
They get to the point to where they tell after they won the championship,
That's right, because Russell. Yep. Pushed.
Yeah.
Yep.
They tell the story. They started getting to the story of them breaking up and how that went about. And
Oh, that's right.
so you have, Jordan says, I wanted to go for 7. And they show him a recording with Jerry Reinsdorf. And then Jerry Reinsdorf says what he says in terms of, we weren't going to bring those guys back at, their market value. We basically weren't going to overpay to bring older players back. He brings up Jordan's injury. He cut his finger, a cigar accident in the summertime of that year. You hear Phil Jackson basically say it was time. Like Phil Jackson said, me and Jerry Krause couldn't. We had gone as far as we were going to go, so I was out. I think I take away from that. There's been this entire narrative for 22 years about Jerry Krause breaking up the Bulls, Jerry Reinsdorf. What I took out of this in watching this episode is there were about, I would put it on 4 people broke up the Bulls. Obviously, you begin with the Jerrys. I go Reinsdorf 1, Krause 2, Phil Jackson, and Michael Jordan. Because to me, Phil Jackson, and Phil is 4th. Phil's no dummy. Phil, I think that this team, and again, I did episodes in terms of watching this team play those last couple of years with the playoff games. I think that they were basically, they wouldn't won a championship the following year. They were older. And I think Phil got that sense and says, hey, Kobe and Shaq don't have good coaching. So I think Phil already had the Laker job in his head during that. Phil already had an out.
We don't have. This is history. We don't have to think. We know what happened.
I'm saying yes. We see that. That's
you don't
my
have
point.
To think. That's exactly what happened. Yes,
that's
you are 100% accurate.
So Phil was out, and Phil was out.
Yes.
And in regards to Jordan, the problem that I had with Jordan saying that we could have went with 7 and so on and so on. During that time, it was said that, winning championships, he hadn't won a championship without Scottie Pippen. He hadn't won a championship without Phil Jackson. He could have came back. Could have had the surgery in the summertime. It was a lockout shortened season anyway, so the season didn't start till the January of 99. He would have been healthy enough to start the season. So it's not like he didn't have an option to come back. He could have came back. And he
did come back. He was just with the Wizards.
Yeah.
But according to the documentary, Jordan just retired.
Right.
That was key.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course.
He just walked off to retire. Oh, nothing else happened.
Yeah.
Nothing else happened.
That's why they call it the last dance.
Yeah. Oh, no, I know. I get it.
So
I get it. Wait, he did come back. I'm just going to put it on record. He did come back.
He did come back, yes.
He played Washington, D.C. They were not good. There were no championships won.
No playoff.
Put it on the record since it wasn't in the documentary. If we keep
what are your thoughts on the breakup and how the Jerry Reinsdorf comments, Phil Jackson, and what Jordan said in terms of how they broke up?
I really want to talk about this.
Okay, so I'll be quick then. I don't have a lot to say about this. The only thing I learned from this is how stupid Jordan is. He's a dumb person. No, I shouldn't say that. He's an athlete. When Jordan spoke about it, he was like, no, we could have got the whole team back. Kerr, Phil, Scotty. Scotty would have been a little bit of problem. Maybe not. This is why you were such a horrible GM. I totally understand it now.
I I just had to chime in right because literally, like when I was watching, I was like, "This is why, FC. This is why we think we can talk. Do your jobs because you say dumb shit like this. Like you have been in it.
Yep.
You could have signed for $1 million. I signed 1 year. What are you talking about? Have you ever managed a salary cap before?
Jordan said
Obviously
shit
not.
that I would do on NBA 2K. Like his whole business proposal was something I would try to make a dumb trade on a video game. Scottie Pippen, haven't getting paid in 10 years, and you're telling me I'm coming back again to win a championship for peanuts? Sorry, sir. The only person that did not get what was going on was Michael Jordan. Phil Jackson was like, oh, okay. So look, Jerry Krause did this, MJ. This is all Jerry. But the reality was the three white men met, and the two Jerrys said, hey, Phil, we want you, or this is how we're going to have you back. We need to – look, man, we can't pay all these people. They don't want 6 championships, some of them. They got to get paid. We can't pay them. So this is what our roster is going to look like next year if we pay you too. And Phil was like, oh, Shaq and Kobe, who? Nah, I'm going to exit, but I'm going to let Jordan – because Jordan really thinks you guys can get everybody to get $15 million next year. So – y'all deal with that. Peace out. And he left. And Jordan's like, what? No! Come on, man. Everybody, I'll take a cut. Jordan, your cut is not – first of all, you're not taking a cut. You're the only one that got a Nike. Let's put that out there. No one else has sneakers. So whatever you're talking about an NBA salary means nothing. Like, don't do that. That's really unfair to you. I'm tired of winning for you. And Jordan's little Beatles, you're the only I'm late on my bills.
Oh, man.
My wife's trying to divorce me. Like, they're getting paid nothing. So when I'm watching that, I said, yo, this man really believed his own story. He believed his own story. Did you see Dennis Rodman nigga in the playoffs? He's already wrestling. Dennis is gone. Like, at this point, basketball's a hobby for Dennis. Like, everyone else gets what's happening, but
Phil just lets me do me. You just go. Sometimes I just need to go. I just need to do
Phil saw it. Everyone else saw what was happening but Jordan. So that's the only thing I take away from this.
Like, you go discipline Rodman and Phil's, whatever.
I totally understand why you struggle so much
good.
As a GM. That's all.
Oh, good. Yeah. Damn. That's exactly what I wanted to hit on. So this when this was announced, this was my interest, right? Like, I wanted to see what happened. And ultimately, the thing is nothing happened. Just natural, everyday thing. Because they only gave it, 20 seconds at the end of 10 fucking hours. So
this is why we're here for those 5 seconds.
That's essentially what happened with the Bulls. Nothing. They just broke up. Like, people aged, people left. Boom. That's how a lot of teams break up. What I found was interesting in the structure, I can't remember if it was before or after, but when Jerry Reinsdorf throws Phil Jackson all the way under the bus, it goes, so I asked Phil to come. I told Phil he could come back. Damn, Krause. I told him he could come back. And Phil's like, And then Jordan, it's either before or after Jordan's like, well, fuck Reinsdorf. I mean, fuck Krause. Like, he's still holding on to Krause. Like, yo, in your own documentary, he just said Phil could come back.
Hold on. Can I say this real quick? I can't
remember the structure.
Real quick. Hold up, Sap. Let me say this to you real quick. Because this documentary is so gimmicky, and we use the tablet, the Jordan to watch whenever we want to, why are we not watching Phil Jackson say, yeah, okay, they did offer me a chance. I want to hear Phil.
Yeah.
Jordan to watch that. It's now coming.
Yeah.
You didn't see that.
You didn't see that. It's in the thing. The thing that is there. It's there. He said it. Reinsdorf clearly said Phil could come back. How is this Krause's fault if you were only going to come back if Phil came back? Anyways, so again, the thing what I meant, like, I really wanted to talk about was, what Chad talked about, that took that part out. But just like this ultimately says exactly what this documentary is about, right? Like, this was the interest. This was the title, The Last Dance. And what did it get? 20 seconds. And literally, like, you have movies with fictional characters, and they make up good backgrounds at the end of things, like what they're doing 5 years from 10 to where they ended up. They were literally like like he didn't fill up the whole black screen. It was like 3 sentences. Something. Jordan, Scotty traded. Jordan retires. Phil, who the fuck cares? Bill, I don't even think Phil was on there. I think he just said, and the Bulls rebuild and fade to black. I was like, yo. I mean, that's the only way this pathetic thing could end. But man, that was a sad ending. That's a sad ending. So that will be just kind of like my overarching memory of this. It's just like the one thing I actually wanted to hear about was the thing they had the least amount to say and dedicated the least amount of time to.
Yeah, they never got into the Reinsdorf.
There was nothing to get into. There just was nothing to get into.
Phil Jackson relationship.
They had 10 hours on film, and all of, to Chad's point, everything, the hours upon hours of interviews, everything. Jordan didn't care. That was not the point of this. And from what I saw, for everything, there was nothing to say. Like you said, Phil didn't want to come back. Yeah. Everybody was aging. No. That is ABC of sports. It's that simple.
Winners and losers of this documentary.
Okay.
Can Jordan be a winner and a loser?
Yes.
No,
he can be. He can be both.
Go ahead. Go ahead. That's not my answer.
I'll play it around. I'll play with this. So, of course, we know Jordan's a winner, the ultimate winner. ESPN.
Yep. That was going to be my winner.
Nike.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So those are the main winners. The second tier winners, these are the losers that win because we heard their names. Steve Kerr, Scott Burrell, Bill Winnington. Who else do we not care about? The one guy who did this. This is what you do. The security guard. I love that. That's my favorite scene.
No, he won.
That was my favorite scene.
Yep.
He's a winner. Phil Jackson's another winner. Jerry Reinsdorf's a winner because it's all about Jerry Krause. He's the only one that did this negative. So, yeah, those are the winners. The losers, me. Yes, the people like me that invested this much time into this.
Boy, did I lose.
The biggest loser, because there are a lot of losers, but the biggest loser, unfortunately, is Scottie Pippen. Scottie Pippen is the biggest loser of this whole series. Isaiah Thomas is a loser. Horace Grant is a loser. Scott Burrell thought he was a winner, but he's a loser.
He's a loser. Yes.
If he's married, just pray on his
he's
marriage.
The triples. I don't even know. He just losses. L.
Like I said,
L after L after L.
It's some quiet nights in the Burrell house after what this grown man allowed.
Why? Yes. Don't be in this. This is bad. Don't do that. Don't do that ever again, Burrell.
Yeah. So those are the main losers. But like I said, the biggest loser is Scottie Pippen, unfortunately. Because of how he was portrayed and not given his just due. So
I'm glad you brought up Pippen. Pippen, despite everything that went on with Jerry Krause, Pippen at the end of the documentary, and just showed you his character, how humble he is. He says, man, I look back, so I was fortunate to be on the greatest team of all time, fortunate to play with the greatest player of all time, one of the greatest coaches of all time, and one of the greatest general managers of all time. So that just, in terms of Jerry Krause, so that just lets you know, despite animosity or despite all that went on with him and Krause in those years, he's still, that's growth. And I mentioned that that's evolution and growth. And I mentioned that for a reason when I wrap up with Jordan. Pippen just showed you his character.
Right.
In terms of how he finished up the documentary and what he said.
Loser, the truth.
Yes.
That's where I'll go.
The truth losers, I like that.
The fans, me, I feel very bad for me. I feel very, very bad for me. Because I wanted to, I had thought about why this thing came to an end for so long. And I came to this honestly wanting to know.
Oh, actually, hold
And-
on. I'm gonna jump in real quick. I'm a winner because I called this shit. I knew what this was gonna be.
No, you're a loser for interrupting me. How about that? You had your chance. You said a whole bunch of things. How dare you come in my winner and loser segment?
Me. I'm a winner. Okay, go ahead, Rob. You second, nigga. Go ahead and finish it off, loser. I told you I didn't this dude.
See, you understand, Jordan. You know what to do. Get him.
I'm so conflicted.
I'll keep it simple. I mean, the obvious winner is everybody who had no content during COVID-19, because boy, did they eat off of this documentary. I mean, they ate off of this documentary.
I ate off it, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but you do a lot of different things. You normally be talking about something. So no. Scott Van Pelt was like directly after the show. Like this was like a game-winning shot. Like we need to recap 30 years worth of history right now, immediately at 12:01. Stephen A got special after special after he's talked about it all day long, and all this. So anybody who was feeling like they weren't getting enough airtime or weren't getting enough content, they ate off of this. So they're the winners. ESPN, absolutely, and their entire lineup, they're the winners. They won big.
Winners, of course, you have ESPN's a winner. Michael Jordan is a winner in this. You have Lies. The Lies were winners as well. You have Sam Smith. Sam Smith is a winner, as far as I'm concerned. Who else I want to say? Gary Payton was a winner to me.
Gary, what the hell?
I think Gary Payton was a winner. I think
he still is thinking about that. Gary Payton came off that way. He wasn't listening to when we broke it down.
Okay.
That's Cyril not
listening to us. I got to listen as a winner.
Yeah, you got to re-listen to your podcast.
Yeah, watch your show.
We definitely broke it down to why he's not a winner. And I'm the Sonics fan.
Yes.
Okay.
Please watch your show.
No, Gary Payton's the winner. You're right.
Losers, I had to say. Jordan's a loser, and I'll go into that more towards the latter part of the show. The security guards were winners. The security guards. The dude, Gus, rest in peace. And the dude died too. He passed away in January. The dude that did the shrug, he passed away in January. So all the security guards are winners. The losers, Reggie Miller, everybody that lost to Jordan, Reggie Miller, Karl Malone, John Stockton, B.J. Armstrong, of course, Scott Burrell, LeBradford Smith, he's a loser.
You're looking at this totally wrong. I get your winner.
Leave him alone, Chad. No. Leave him in his segment. You're not going to do that.
I got to put myself in category of both winner and loser.
Of course you do.
Because
Young Wilt is still, go ahead.
The winner part got the content for us.
Yeah.
Did these shows.
Yeah.
The loser part, I thought this was going to be a classic documentary.
Yeah, I want to find your old text. You said it was going to be the greatest.
I did. I said it's going to be the greatest documentary ever. I did say. Seems like that was 10
I
years
really want you.
You and Jay Williams just need to get together.
Yeah.
Just talk.
Jay Williams really has me rethinking about this whole Duke thing, man. He really does.
Yeah. He said that after. I said it before. He said after. Yeah, he was moved. I wasn't moved after watching this at all. I was not moved by this documentary.
But you to even think that you would be moved is still troublesome for me.
I didn't say I was going to be moved.
With Jay Williams and the Duke thing, I mean, like, look, Duke should have us thinking about the whole Duke thing. That's is
fair.
Jay Williams is just, woo. Jay Williams, it should just, yeah. We just there's a lot of thinking he needs to do about life And no, you cannot. I don't know if I ever was a Jay Williams fan, but I know I'm definitely not now.
I was when he played. I just feel
I
like
remember when he played.
he never recovered from that motorcycle accident.
No, he didn't.
That's where we are.
He didn't.
For Jay Will.
Okay. Chad's soft on Jay Williams, by the way.
No, I'm not.
I think that's the takeaway. I clearly denounced him. Chad took the political approach on that.
No, I'm just saying, like, I think that he has brain damage. That's what I meant. I think he has brain damage. So, like, if you want to call me
fair enough.
To people who can't think.
Yes. Fair enough. I did not know you were going
this soundbite
that far.
I'm on record. If you can't use your whole brain, you got a friend in me.
I just denounced him as a fan. That you're right. Yep.
He's a bumbling idiot.
That was my fault. I
would listen to media.
I raised my hand. That was my bad.
I listen to media as losers.
I fouled.
I listen to the media as losers in terms of their coverage on it. With the exception of a couple of articles and podcasts here and there, for the most part, the media were losers.
Okay, this is the second time I got to come to you. I'm really having a problem with this winners loser thing. Yeah. I was gonna leave it alone.
That was tough.
But
it's like
you got the media as winners.
That was tough.
The way the context of your question is like you're making it very personal how you see things, not how the actual perception of things is. Right? The media is a winner because
they go both. All right, so they're winner in terms of the content they got to get off it. That's the winning part. They also lost in terms of their coverage. So they're both.
They lost in terms of what?
They lost in terms of their coverage, how they covered it.
How? Because if content is king and they covered it to the upteenth degree, how did they lose?
Or their opinions of it.
No, you're being very subjective, right? The masses, and this goes back to when you saying Scotty Burrell and Steve Kerr, they're all losers. Everybody's won.
Yep.
Right? You're speaking because the thing is, this is why it's a contradiction. You said lies are a winner. The media is spewing lies. They're part of that win. They can't be both. They got content for days, and there's still going to be shit that comes out the next couple of weeks. The stuff that the documentary didn't show. They're going to eat off this the rest of the summer. It's a win.
And you said, like, Stockton and Malone are losers versus Gary Payton as a winner, right? Whereas I would say at the very least, Karl Malone and Stockton neutral.
Right.
Because Jordan didn't nothing. There's nothing came up there. I would say in terms of this thing, they're winners because nothing. All in my feed this morning, all I'm getting is Gary Payton's incensed by Jordan laughing at him, everything like that. That's an L. That's an L. The fact that he has to respond 30 years later about Jordan is an L, not only in the fact of how we broke down, how Jordan laughed, and how that propagated, everything like that. So that's like a shift in terms of like how you're looking at winners and losers. Winners and losers in the game of basketball in that finals, Stockton and Malone lost. In the context of this documentary, they absolutely won. And Payton absolutely lost.
And to Rob's point, which you said perfectly, the other context is you're taking into consideration all the research you've done outside of this.
Nobody else has done that.
So you have all this other intel that we're talking about the documentary. How did people look in the documentary? Gary Payton did not look like a winner in the documentary.
He didn't.
Sean Kemp's a loser because he wasn't even mentioned in the documentary.
Sean Kemp.
As the man that got votes for MVP even as he lost. So like these are the people that
not get mentioned. That's so true.
That's why he's a loser.
So true. Damn.
Tony Kukoc as a loser.
Yeah, that's a good one. Tony Kukoc. There you go.
Yeah. L.
Tony Kukoc.
We'll disagree on the Gary Payton. I think Gary Payton. I thought he came up.
No, we don't have to. Just research, man.
Stop being stubborn.
Just look.
No, time out. This is an intervention in the middle of the show. Stop being stubborn. You cannot honestly say you watched this documentary.
Gary Payton doesn't think he's a winner.
You cannot
his own words.
Gary Payton looked good in this documentary. How? Did they even bring up that he was the MVP? I mean, the defensive player of the year the year before. Did they bring that up?
No,
What did they say about Gary Payton?
He said it. No, he said it.
What were the highlights in your remembrance of Gary Payton, his documentary? What do you remember most about it?
I'm talking in terms of what he said. In terms of his interview, when they interviewed him.
So his interview when he said, well, I don't know if I would have stopped him, but I think I would have. And then they cut to Jordan laughing at him. That interview?
He said that he
wasn't afraid of Jordan.
Yes.
And that when he guarded him, he did X, Y, and Z. Yes. Payton said those things. But as we talked about, the immediate cut after was Jordan laughing at him. And then the cut right after that was going into his father's death. So the way that it was structured was for Payton to say these things and for Jordan he doesn't even have to say anything. All he has to do is laugh. So and then Payton can't respond because he didn't respond to how many days later? This is the first day I got all the feeds of Gary Payton being incensed and everything. So he couldn't respond immediately because the immediate thing was about Jordan, how he's feeling about his dad's death. So that was number one. And then number two, then the immediate next thing, the thing that enraged me was, because I don't look at those shows, but I was so excited, I was looking at clips, and then I saw Greeny on Get Up talking and being like, so Jordan laughed at him. What do you think Gary Payton's thinking? And so then that was the drumbeat the entire week. So those are the things, that's how Jordan wielded this weapon of this show. It's like, I'm going to make you a fool, and then I'm going to have people talk about you. Isaiah, Gary Payton, same thing.
Nah, Isaiah definitely. Isaiah was way worse. Isaiah's was
well, let's move on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We'll have this another time.
Yep. I'm not doing this. I refuse.
You started. No.
I did. I'm out. I'm taking it myself out.
I tried.
You did.
That one I'm not taking it.
But sometimes when I see somebody else arguing, I can see myself. I'm like,
I won that. I was trying to stop it.
Your overall takes on the documentary. Your overall, you can just put it into a book on it.
I mean, I think it came out at the right time. You know what I mean? I'm gonna be very honest with you. You know I don't like Jordan, but I respect what he did on the court. If we had not been in a lockdown type of situation and we're at home, I would not have watched 10 episodes of this. I just would not. So
I wouldn't.
For what it's worth, even when I was enraged or frustrated, it was entertaining. It was something to do. So it came out at the best time as far as where it lands on my tier of sports documentaries. Cause I'm not even I have to call it a sports show. I'm not going to put it Yeah. It's not like documentaries. It's a sports show.
Yeah.
Not even on my top 5 or top 10. I would never rewatch this ever again.
There's no reason to.
No.
There's no reason to.
I was talking to my wife's brother's fiance who knows nothing about basketball. And she brought up the documentary. She said, my problem is when I watch a documentary, I want to learn something.
There you go.
It's really that simple. She doesn't even care about sports. She's like, I didn't learn anything I didn't know watching this. So that's kind of it is and like I said before, early on in maybe episode 2 or 3, I'm like, okay, there's 2 ways to approach this. Let's learn something or let's live in something. So if we're living in something, I want all the nostalgia of what made him great. I want to see every dynamic game. I want to see every 50, 60, dunking on everybody. I want to see all of that. For whatever clips you have, whatever the talk he was talking in all-star games, talking trash to all these other NBA, I want to see all of that. You gave me neither. You gave me little pieces of both. So it was kind of come on, man. I've seen the Dr. J one was better than me. You know what I mean? There's a number of people that I don't even feel like is on Jordan's level, that the quality of their production was higher.
Yeah.
And that's what's upsetting. If you are the GOAT, I'm looking at when you finally do whatever you do, it's completely first class. Right? Y'all know me, and I always find a way to bring up Jay-Z. If Jay-Z hold on real quick.
Murphy, I think, is the better comparison. That's why Eddie Murphy's so hesitant to do, he knows his name carries everything. So he can't just put bullshit out there. So that's why
No,
he's so hesitant.
that is a perfect example.
I know.
To
I
your
know.
point, like when he finally
Jay-Z had nothing to do with it.
because even though let's stay with Eddie Murphy.
Yeah,
even
no,
if
that was the better example. That's why I said
no.
Jay-Z had nothing to do with it.
Kind of.
Okay.
Kind of.
You
See, now you're gonna go
literally
there.
on tape, Cyril, run it back. He said that was the perfect example.
The only issue. No, listen. I said it's a perfect example.
Perfect example. Go.
The perfect example, but
this is my
the
fault.
perfect example of why Jay-Z would do it.
I did this. I could have just let it go.
You did this.
I did.
You want to go there?
I did.
I will take any fight.
I admit this one. Yep.
No,
yeah,
I
did.
No, all right. Let's say that real quick. All right, sorry, Cyril. I don't want to go that far.
No, go ahead.
But the Eddie Murphy thing is a perfect example of doing it the right way, right? If I'm ever going to go out there, this is how it has to be. Everything has to be set up. Like I said, it was like when you think about the GOATs, and I'm just throwing shit out there, like I want Martin Scorsese to direct this. Like I want some known person in the documentary field to do this. And I'm not trying to like knock anybody who's an unknown if they're skilled enough. But I feel like this dude, what does he do before? His music videos or something?
No,
like,
he did. No, he did. He worked. So he did ESPN documentaries for 30 for 30. He did the Bears. He was a part of Fab Five. So he had done other quality.
He did random documentaries. He had
been a part of. That's
he had
very
been,
different.
Let's be very clear. He had been a part of when they interviewed him this week. And they said, "How did you pull out stuff that only Ahmad Rashad knew?" His only answer was like, "Well, you know, he met MJ one time. Like you don't even know the guy. You just were the person they chose to do. All you had to do was sit down and ask the questions that I already wrote out for you. That's what he was." So it's like, yo, they just randomly found anybody to tell this story for Jordan to get his shit out there.
And that's why no self-respecting director would do anything like that.
And there you go. A self-respecting director or journalist would not have done this, right? Because they say, hey, before we begin, it's going to be uncomfortable. This is what the director has to do. This is why certain directors won't work with certain talent, because they know the talent's too big.
Jordan, nobody gives a damn about your one-on-one battle with BJ Armstrong.
They have to have those uncomfortable conversations.
It's not going to make the cut. Sorry. It just isn't. There's so many more.
I will say, I'm putting this on the record now. LeBron James, when his documentary comes out, is going to blow this out of the water.
Of course it is.
You know what I mean? Like I told you, this is not better than the first two Kobe documentaries I've already seen.
Because it's not. Because it's not a documentary. It's not. It just isn't. It's
a basketball show.
And, I mean, it's the worst kind of, like, honestly, like I'm just gonna call. I mean, it's a visual autobiography, as told by Michael Jordan. I mean, it's just that simple. It's just that simple. It is through everything. It's through his words. To your point, that's how we get this stupid ass pizza story. And he spit on the pizza, all this bullshit. Like that is the allure of the flu. Like I'll get to. I know the question. The allure of the flu game is so much better than what you said. Like why would you say? Like just technically speaking, I have so many issues with this thing. I could go one by one. Just as what it was presented as, not even getting into content. Like this is not anything I would watch. So my overarching thought on this or reflection is disappointment. I'm just disappointed. I'm disappointed that I didn't get any of the answers. And more importantly, like, and this is honest self-reflection, I'm disappointed in myself. I fell for the marketing hype. I did initially. I'm disappointed in me. I don't, maybe, COVID, being stuck in the house, like I just did. I didn't think it through enough to come into it with as close of scrutiny as I needed, as I should have, as I give so many other things. So that's just my own personal disappointment. I mean, look, if you would have said to me, what's a Jordan 10-hour documentary, supervised, edited, written by Jordan going to be about? This has been the easiest thing in the world to predict. But I fell for the marketing. And so like that's the part that irritates me the most for myself, and then just disappointment that it ultimately had nothing to say about what was promoted. The Last Dance, and having all this footage of the 1998 season and thinking about how it's going to end. It ultimately had nothing to say about that. And that wasn't the point of the documentary. And they made that fairly clear.
I'm sorry, I'm coming back real quick. Because I just, like, before all this, the last documentary I watched, in a sense, kind of a documentary, was Tiger King, right? On Netflix. And the reason I bring that up is because when the story's told the right way, we'll still have you research. I want to be clear. Like, I'm not saying that you don't research. But even when I was researching Tiger King and everything, it wasn't like I found a whole bunch of jewels that the documentary didn't talk about. So, like, for the people that watch this podcast, Cyril, even me, if I'm not on your podcast, when you send us the notes or the agenda, 70% of the stuff is stuff that documentary didn't capture. And I'm like, yo, this is just out there on Google. This is not even like a real This is like simple stuff, man. This is simple stuff that you can find is out there.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so disappointing when I'm sitting here watching this, like, okay, that's not true. I know this is not the story. And I hit my phone, oh, here are the stories. Like, so why are we sitting here wasting time? This will just go down as, like Rob said, this is a visual Hall of Fame speech. So, you know, it is what it is. I'll never watch it again.
Yeah. Disappointed myself in terms of expecting it to be this grand tell all.
Good. How about average?
All access.
Just expecting a story to be
all access and things, all access documentary. So from that standpoint, I'm disappointed. In terms of Jordan, I think, and I thought about this, I think Monday, it came on Sunday, I thought about this on Monday when I was starting to research the podcast, at the asking of why was this made and why, he's a billionaire, you got 6 championships, cool. The on the surface answers would be, yeah, I want to, let the young people know who I was, or push away, confirm for further confirmation for the GOAT conversation, shit like that. Then, you think about, you watch the documentary, and when I see Jordan, I see just somebody who is completely, not only narcissistic, but just a unhappy and unfulfilled human being. Jordan is 56 years old. For somebody who has accomplished as much as he's accomplished, in terms of a combination of athlete and businessman, there probably hasn't been a more successful combination of athlete, businessman ever. In terms of that combination, there have been maybe arguably better athletes, maybe arguably better businessmen. But in terms of that combination, he probably is at the top of the list. 5 kids, remarried, just had a baby. So I'm like, you have reasons upon reasons to seemingly be happy. But getting back to, to the documentary, pettiness, the grudge holding, there's been no evolution with Michael Jordan over the course of his life. And I think that basketball was able to somewhat fulfill that. But now, since you've been retired since 2003, for about 17 years, there's really, he should have things to fulfill that, but it comes off to me like he's just not happy. And I look at what Kobe Bryant did in terms of how he retired. He retires immediately. He goes right to the arts and to the film, and he becomes, more intertwined with his family and that process and what have you. It's really sad. It's kind of sad. It's sad, to be honest with you. I think Michael Jordan, I'm saying this, I'm dead serious. I think he needs some therapy, to be perfectly honest with you. In terms of his mentality, the way he is right now. Like, dude, you think about over the course of the documentary, how many times did you actually, it didn't even seem like you were enjoying it. It didn't seem like you were even enjoying it. Even through all your highlights, through all the ass kissing, through all, all that, all the narcissism, all the stuff that all the reporters talking, saying great things about you. It didn't even seem like he enjoyed the process of the documentary, despite the fact that it was his production, despite the fact that he had basically total control of it. And I'll say this: I make this comparison to one of the great shows of all time in terms of Boardwalk Empire. There was a line. I'm gonna look it up because I don't want to get this wrong because it's such a great piece of writing. I know that. Thank you. Wow.
Love the clip.
Yeah. Wait.
Good job, Rob.
It's like you doing my lessons.
I need one of those. Nobody cares.
There was a line that Jimmy Darmody said to Nucky in his final episode, season 2. He says, "This is as Nucky is about to shoot him." He says, "You'll get through it. All you have to do is worry about when you run out of booze and when you run out of company." And I thought about that when I was thinking about, like, damn, this dude is just completely unfulfilled. And it's beyond narcissism, to be honest with you. He's an unfulfilled human being. It is beyond narcissism. It absolutely is.
Yeah, I don't have much to say. I don't think it's beyond narcissism.
I was trying to give Real the last word.
I know that is the last word, right? I shouldn't have said anything.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. You can respond. Go ahead.
No, I just don't care. I don't care about his mind state or what he's living and thinking. I do think he enjoyed it. I honestly do. I think he is an evil person that watches this. I hear what you're saying. I do think ultimately he is unfulfilled and all this other type of stuff, but I don't think that he feels that. He just reminds me of Al Bundy. He's Al Bundy to me. He's living in Polk High, his 4 touchdowns. So, like, Jordan will always be, when he's 70 and 80 and 90, we'll be talking about that 7th championship that he never got. Michael Wilbon, who is one of Jordan's testicles, talks about how Jordan says all the time how he still can't get over not coming back. Jordan and Jay Williams are cut from the same cloth. They can't get past the past.
I saw him.
So, like, that is sad to your point, Real, that I feel like he will always be in that space of, man, I still should have won another one. Like, dude, you're 50-something years old. You have twin daughters. They're infants. There's a lot of things you can be doing. But I'm like, not judging him or anything, but it's like, he's still stuck on that. He won't get past that because, to Rob's point about narcissism, and I'm not a narcissist, right? I can't get into the psyche and all of that shit, but it's like, if I'm about praise and winning, this is my greatest praise and win. This is the same reason I give my kids 1% of this 10-episode documentary. This is the same reason I give anybody else. I don't interview my mom, but I let her talk for a couple of seconds. Like, this is the same reason it's me. So that's all this island of Jordan is ever going to be. This is the same reason he wears these big ass jeans, because no one else wears these. These are Jordan jeans. I totally understand why he makes every decision he makes in life. I think Jordan looks at the Bobcats and like, no, I don't want the best players. I want this team, and I'm going to win with this team because I'm not Michael Jordan. So he's a loser. Michael Jordan is a loser. That's the last thing I'll say.
All right, we made it. 5 episodes.
5? Yeah, it was 5 for like 30.
Well, we did an hour on each. So we did 10. We did a lot.
Yeah, we did 10
hours.
We did more than 5. Yeah, we did about 10 hours. We did close to 10 hours. Yep. Yeah. We did close to 10 hours, and hopefully the next time we all speak,
8.5.
Hopefully next time we all do a podcast, we'll be doing we have some basketball, some real basketball, some actual basketball to talk about in the present, as it seems like
it's gonna all come from Disney World.
Yeah, Disney. Yep, Disney's gonna be the spot. Disney or Vegas, if not both of them.
All right.
So
Vegas, they'll never see half the league we can go. No,
Be 3 teams.
No, Disney World. Bring your families there. Everybody's coming. Your mom, your grandma, nah, we're not doing Vegas. Nah.
No, but they
Not
might
gonna
do.
have
They
basketball.
no. Here's the thing. So here's the thing. They might do both of them because they want West Coast site and the East Coast site.
Sure. I'm just saying, if we do Vegas,
It's a bad idea. No, it's not a good idea.
the next night.
It's not a good idea. No.
Are they moving right to the playoffs?
There's talk that they probably will move right directly to the playoffs.
If they go to Vegas, they need to skip to the finals and just play one game. That's the only way it works out in Vegas. The Lakers versus whoever, Milwaukee.
It's like, think about it. If J.R. Smith was like playing for like that Cleveland year, we would have never seen J.R. Smith again. Ever. The plane would have landed and then J.R. Smith would have been gone.
Can we talk about how Dennis Rodman really was doing WWE? Like,
He did.
that's phenomenal.
I remember that very well. I remember
He
that
wrestled
very well.
Karl Malone. They wrestled that
Yeah.
summer.
Yeah.
But yeah. That was the overall thing. He literally left the team to go show up that night. With him there. Yo, that's amazing.
Can we talk? Hold on, two things. I'm done. We're done. But this is what I said. One, after Phil Jackson and Michael Jordan both were so horrible as GMs, I would beg the question: do you have any more respect for Krause? I know what
Yeah,
So
Krause, I have all the respect in the world for Jerry.
No. I'm not asking you what you, nigga. I don't care. I know you do. I'm saying Jordan and Phil Jackson. Now that you actually had the hat on and been shitty, what can you say? That's number one.
You know what, Chad? That would have been an interesting question to explore. Would have been very interesting. I would like to see them talk about that. I would have.
Touche. Why am I even talking? You're right. Never mind.
Would have been fascinating.
Since I'm here,
I would have really tuned in for that episode.
Scott Burrell, a rookie that you bullied, and Steve Kerr you punched in the face. What were your thoughts with Dennis Rodman and leaving to go to the WWF? Did you confront him at all?
Rodman being Rodman.
Just curious.
You just got to do some things. Everybody just knew he had to blow off some steam. They let him be him.
Yeah.
Him.
I'm done. What I felt about Michael Jordan, I leave feeling about Michael Jordan.
There you go. No opinions changed in this.
None.
All right, gentlemen, that's going to wrap it up. As always, thanks for coming on these past 5 weeks. Be safe out there, and we will see you next time.
All right.
Man, take care, fellas.
Ladies and gentlemen, be safe, be healthy.
All right. Peace out.
It's going to wrap it up for this latest edition of the Real Deal podcast. We will be coming back with a Sunday episode of Wire Season 1, Episode 9, Game Day. I'll be joined, of course, by Rob Sapp as we go in depth to one of the greatest, if not the greatest television show of all time. The greatest television show of all time. There's no question about that. You can find this podcast this will be on my YouTube channel tomorrow, midnight tonight. Blog Talk Radio as well, and a number of other podcast platforms, Stitcher, Spotify, and what have you. I will see you next time. Take it easy.